Are you horrified of mastitis? What really is it? By the end of this video, you'll understand key concepts about mastitis and how to avoid it. Mastitis is inflammation or infection of your breast tissues that more commonly occurs while your breasts are lactating, which means when they're making milk. It can make people feel quite sick with severe breast pain, flu symptoms, fever, and sometimes even cause abscess, which are really painful pus-filled collections of tissue that forms in response to a bacterial infection. Mastitis is usually caused by a buildup of milk sitting in your breast over time, not moving out of your breast properly, and starts becoming inflamed or infected. Or it can happen from severe nipple damage if bacteria crawls in directly from your exposed skin. Hi, welcome to my channel. My name's Amy. I'm a lactation consultant, nurse, and midwife. As a lactation consultant, my team and I review all moms who come back to hospital with mastitis. Clinically, I would say that 80% of moms who come back to hospital with mastitis has it occurring within the first 6 weeks of birthing baby. When we talk to these moms and discuss their feeding routine to find out what caused it and how to prevent it, it is usually caused by milk stasis. Luckily, milk stasis can be quite preventable if you understand these key concepts: managing supply, regular inspection of your breasts, regular milk removal, and effective milk removal. Number 1, preventing oversupply. Let your body naturally regulate your milk supply. If you have a great milk supply and your baby is full, thriving from drinking breast milk directly from you, you don't need to be expressing milk once your milk comes in. Naturally, when your milk first comes in, you'll make about 2 to 3 times more than what your baby needs. Your body needs time to down-regulate the supply to just a little bit more than what baby needs, but not too much more. How this process happens is that once your milk comes in, whenever your breast feels really full before feeds, the fullness sends a signal to your brain to say, okay, let's relax the milk factory. We have a lot of milk here that baby's not drinking, and we don't need to be trying so hard to make more milk. And when your breast is really soft after feeds, the softness tells your milk factory to work overtime and make more milk. Can you imagine what will happen if we're expressing after breastfeeds all the time, aiming to empty the breast? You're just going to end up with so much milk. Long story short, don't express your breast milk unless you have to. The more milk you make, the more milk is stored in your breast, and the more likely it is to build up and cause problems. Number 2, inspect your breast often. By inspecting, we're going to feel your breast and around your entire breast to see how it feels before and after each feed. Or if you have a support person, get them to have a feel. You're feeling for how soft your breast tissue is. So if you're feeling this part of your forearm here, it would be softer and squishier. And then if you feel this part of your forearm here, it's probably a little bit firmer because there's less fat. After a breastfeed, you might just feel the tiniest change where your breast tissue feels a little bit softer from this texture to this texture. So there's not going to be a huge difference depending on how much your baby is able to drink and how much swelling there is on your breast. But you do want your breast to feel a tiny bit softer after each feed. Imagine your breast as a broccoli. You're going to have your nipple here, and these are your milk ducts where your milk comes from. And your body makes milk and stores milk in here. So once your milk comes in, you might feel like some parts of your breast is really lumpy. The lump itself isn't an issue because your body will naturally make some more milk in some parts of the breast rather than other parts of the breast. When you're feeding, your milk moves from these lumps where the milk is stored through the ducts and out through your nipple. Because your body is storing all that milk in the individual alveoli in your breast, it's not uncommon for you to feel firm and lumpy before a feed. The lump itself is not a problem. However, if the lump is not softening at all or getting smaller after a feed, that's when you need to be careful because that could mean that your milk is not traveling out of your breast properly, and that can lead to a buildup of milk and milk stasis and then end up causing problems. This brings us to the next point, which is effective and frequent milk removal. Effective milk removal sounds like a no-brainer, but sometimes when you're breastfeeding or pumping, your milk might not be moving out of your breast as efficiently and effectively as you think it is. For example, if baby breastfeeds for a long time every time, doing a lot of sleepy and non-nutritive sucks, and you don't feel breast changes, that's a sign that baby is not drinking a lot of milk in that given time and not moving your milk as effectively as they can. If you notice your baby has a very weak vacuum and they're constantly coming on and off of the breast and not latching deeply, resulting in nipple pain, that can all affect how well your baby is draining the milk out of your breast. If your baby is not removing milk effectively or taking a long time to feed despite trying other strategies, you might need to then express and soften the breast after a feed and give baby back what your baby couldn't get out from breastfeeding. We're aiming to simply remove what your baby is not drinking and what they actually need to drink. So we're not actually triggering an oversupply because your baby is going to be drinking all the milk. However, as we discussed before, if you're doing lots of expressing even though your baby's feeding well and you're putting the milk in the fridge or the freezer and your baby's not getting to it because they're already full from breastfeeding, that itself can trigger an oversupply. A key tip if you have a baby that usually latches quite well but not softening the lump very well is to position them in a way where their chin is where your lump is. For example, if you have lumps in the outer part of your breast, you could consider doing a football hold. So your baby's chin is where the lumps are. So while they're sucking and moving the chin, they are actually massaging your breast by themselves. If you need more strategies about massages and things you can do to prevent these lumps and milk from building up, please subscribe because in my next video, we're going to go through all the massages you can and can't do to prevent mastitis. Next, let's focus on frequent milk removal. The frequency refers to how frequently your milk is being moved or removed out of your breast. When you're exclusively breastfeeding, the frequency will be more dependent on the baby, and hopefully your baby will feed around 8 times a day. If your baby randomly decides to sleep for 5 hours, your breast might start to feel quite full and uncomfortable because your milk hasn't moved out of your breast for a long time. If this is the case and you decide to let your baby sleep, then you might need to just express a little bit off when you're feeling really uncomfortable, just for comfort, and soften your breast a little bit before the next feed. When you're expressing for comfort, your goal is to remove as little milk as possible to achieve comfort because we don't want your body to make too much milk. Now, if you're exclusively pumping and you decide that, for the next feed, you've already got milk there, or you want baby to have a bottle of formula because someone else is around to help you feed that to baby, then that's when you put yourself at a significantly higher risk of getting mastitis or plugged duct. Again, your breast is used to having milk removed out of your breast every 2 to 4 hours. And when you suddenly skip a feed or skip an expressing session, your milk is going to stay in your breast for maybe 5 to 6 hours, which is something that your breast is not used to. You can only imagine how uncomfortable that's going to feel for you. The longer the milk stays in the part of your breast, in the same spot, the harder it is for it to come out. So, if you're exclusively pumping, don't skip pumping sessions. If you are exclusively breastfeeding and your baby decides to sleep for a long time and you're super uncomfortable and really lumpy, you can express just a little bit for comfort and still breastfeed baby the next feed. Other expressing tips that can help you prevent mastitis include ensuring you have a correct flange size, having a good electric pump. If you're exclusively breastfeeding, a wearable pump is not usually the best thing to use. If you're using a wearable pump, learn to use it properly, and you might need to incorporate some massages and other strategies to help the wearable pump remove milk effectively. Another thing you can use without a lot of harm is using a cool pack on your breast for 10 to 15 minutes after every breastfeed or expressing session. You can do this as soon as you feel like your breasts are feeling lumpy or warm, or if the lumps are not clearing well after feeds, if your breasts are really uncomfortable and engorged all the time. When you're icing or cooling your breast, you just want to avoid ice directly on your nipple because sometimes it can freeze to your nipple and stick to it, which is really, really painful. Avoid tight clothing, dresses with buckles at the front. if you're folding your padded bra a certain way to sit under your breast when you're breastfeeding, just make sure that it's not bulging under your breast and digging in. Avoid a lot of pressure when you're using a wearable pump so that the pump itself isn't digging into your breast when you're pumping, and just really tight bras in general. If these don't work and your lump is still slowly getting bigger, watch the next video about hands-on massages to help resolve your plugged duct. These massages are not deep tissue massages, not massaging with your knuckle, with your really firm fingerprints. We're not going to put heat pack directly on your breast, as this will only make the redness and swelling worse for your already inflamed breasts. I hope this video has explained some of the key concepts for you to understand to avoid plugged duct and mastitis. Share it with your family and friends who are pregnant or breastfeeding that are struggling with signs of plugged duct. I'll see you in the next video about 9 massages you can do for plugged duct and preventing mastitis. Bye!